Hello. After something of a long hiatus, I am going to go back to posting the videos about that talk about the paintings and the images in my book, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, a visual meditation. This is Book 1, Samadhi Padaha. I am currently working on the paintings for Book 2. I have gotten about halfway through those paintings, and it hit a block, and I will probably post. I'm looking forward to posting some videos about those paintings, the paintings in Book 2, and about that block, because it's a very particular block. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, for me, I had not particularly ever liked the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. They had seemed a little too bossy, a little bit too much like the Ten Commandments, having been raised Catholic. And I found Book 1 to be completely different. Book 1, Samadhi Padaha, is on Samadhi, on enlightenment, basically, on liberation. It does give the overall outlook of the whole process, and is transformative. It's really the process that these sutras led me through was transformative, and much deeper and more powerful and more personally spiritual practice than I had anticipated. And the paintings were, sometimes I mentioned in the last one that I say that 4 of them took me 2 years, even though I also did a large painting in between those 2 years. But they were often difficult to painting. Sometimes I felt the sutras were asking me to do something that I didn't want to do, or sometimes I felt that they were asking me to do something that I found very difficult or frightening. Those were the really 2 basic poles that I felt pushed and pulled between, like getting the sense that to do the painting for the sutra, it was not my idea. It wasn't what I planned. It wasn't what I wanted. It maybe would require me to destroy something that I didn't want to destroy, or to use something that I had set aside to use for something else. Or else I felt that what the image required was something that pushed me, that I didn't think I could do, that I didn't think I could do well enough, or the way it should look. But it was really powerful, the whole process, and felt very much like something else was, both that something else was in charge and that I was doing the work. And with one in particular, that a sutra that hasn't yet come up, that became very, very clear and obvious in that paradox. The paradoxical nature of that became very, very clear, in that it both wasn't my work and it was my work, and I was both the vehicle and the servant, and yet I also had responsibility. I couldn't just let go and let it come through me. It really pushed a lot of buttons and was very difficult. The process of working on Book 2, which is not really what I'm going to talk about here, but just briefly, was very different. I started working on the paintings for Book 2 while I was working on putting together Book 1, and I was amazed at how quickly and easily those paintings came, all the way through up until the middle, which is where I am right now, right around 22, so it's not quite the middle. And suddenly I have hit a roadblock. It's not just a roadblock in terms of painting. It's a roadblock that has to do with the sutras themselves. I have reached a point where it feels like they're starting to get more into that kind of, it feels to me, they feel very Ten Commandment-y, and as if they're also getting more into doctrine and less into, the heart of the matter, which really is transformation. However, we'll get more into that at a different time, but because of that process, I have not been dealing with the sutras of Book 1 or continuing to publish these videos about them. So where we last stopped, we had gotten up to Sutra 123, a very important one, the game changer, as I say, Ishwari Pranidhana Dva. Up to this point, it's described the process of working towards enlightenment, the process of practice, abhyasa and vairagyam, of practice and letting go, non-attachment, and the play that one has to do between the two of them, what the work of practice looks like, and how all that proceeds, the steps that it takes, the steps that you take, and then, or it says, you can surrender to God, to Ishvara. Now, Ishvara literally means Lord, but the concept of Ishvara is more easily understood, as I say in the last video, as like a placeholder for God. So if you think of everything as one, Brahman, as whole, everything just energy vibrating, there is no God. Nonetheless, for most of us, it's easier to surrender to a being. Ishvara is not any God that exists. It is not male or male and female. It's not neuter. It's Ishvara is like a placeholder for the idea of God, the concept of God. If you take one step in from everything just being energy vibrating into the sense of beingness, formness, kind of personness, beingness really, identity. That is Ishvara, the sense of identity taken by everything. So, as the sutra says, you can do all this work, or if you can, with complete faith and complete trust and integrity, you can surrender to God, Ishvara. So then the next few sutras, which are the ones we're going to deal with here, answer the obvious question, okay, who's Ishvara? What is Ishvara? And what does that mean to surrender to Ishvara? And I'm going to refer to my, I haven't chanted these for a while, so I'm going to refer to my Sanskrit. So the next one, and you can see here too with you can surrender to God that it broke down the usual two boxes that everything goes into. And that continues with the next sutra that describes what Ishvara is. And these two too, I'm sorry about that reflection. I don't really know what to do about it. This painting is a very difficult one to get a reproduction of because it is black and that there's a lot of glow. Look at all that. That's a horrible reflection. I'm so sorry. That's maybe a little bit better. You can see there's a blue dot. That blue dot really, really glows in it, and there's sort of a purple around it. So you can see we went from the blue dot against the white to the blue dot in sort of the blackness of the void, but think of it as a velvety void, a void that encompasses everything that is. So this is Klesha Karma Vipaka Shayer Aparamrista Purusha Vishesha Ishwaraha. So God, or Ishvara, is a distinct being, a Purusha, a soul. It's not just, Ishvara is not just everything. Ishvara is a being, a special type of consciousness who is not touched by any miseries, actions, the fruits or results of actions, or the impressions produced by action. Klesha karma. There is no pain, no karma accrued by Ishvara. Ishvara is completely free of any or all. Ishvara's actions are such that they could be called actions. Come from a place where they have no they don't accrue karma. They are so completely free that there is no they have no pain, it doesn't accrue any particular result. Let's see, it's a particular special being or soul that is free from all misery, blockage, or unhappiness. God does not act per se, nor does anything that happens affect God, or no results from any actions accrue to or for God. Nothing that happens has any consequences to or for God, nor does any action create any impression upon God or in any way change the nature of God. God is just everything, everything that is in the form of being. All right. So what's the next step? Somehow, even though this next one means something very clear, I always have a hard time saying the Sanskrit. Basically, what this one does mean is God is both the seed of everything. In God exists the perfect seed of everything that exists and its fullest expression. Tatra niratishayam sarva gyatva bijam. Bijam is seed. So the ultimate, both the beginning of the expression of anything that exists and the fullest expression of everything that exists is God. Ishvara is that. It is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. All right. Then the next one, a favorite of mine. Sa purvesham api guru kalina navachedat. So God is beyond time. Kalina is Kali, is time. And is the teacher, Sabrafesham Api Guru, Ishvara is beyond time is the teacher of all teachers. So this image is also an image that occurs that shows something like, what is it, the jostling action of quanta, which assume a symmetrical distribution, overall distribution, in spite of apparent diversity and the randomness of their movement. Which seemed appropriate because beyond time, the movement in all directions, in any direction, the time going forward and backward, any teacher is, Ishvara is the teacher of that teacher. Any teacher of any religion, any teacher at all. Ishvara is the teacher of all teachers. Okay. Then, all right, this is all very well and good. We've learned a little bit about Ishvara. Then the next deals with how do we approach Ishvara? And here we get into a very familiar symbol, the symbol for Om. Tasya vachaka pranava. The word Om, the sound, vacha, designates, expresses, and manifests God, or Ishvara. Om is Ishvara. Om is how we call Ishvara. God is the sound. It's similar to, in the Gospel of John, the opening of the Gospel of John in the King James Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Although that is, as it has been explained to me, that word is logos, and it means actually something somewhat different. It's still Om and Amen, and there's a certain kind of similarity in the thought here that by sound, which actually the proponents of string theory that talk about multiple layers of reality often say that the way that these different layers of reality would communicate to each other is through sound. So I think that's very fascinating in terms of the notion of Om being the way that we cross the boundaries of different layers of reality to not to call to God if we want, to invoke that energy into our life. This is the energy of God. It's not like, as I say later also, it's not like a magic wand. To say Om is to invite that energy into your life. It is not just to call upon God, but it is to embody, to invoke that embodiment within yourself, and by that to become the God that you already are. Because remember, Ishvara is everything. You are not actually separate from it. It is easier to think of yourself as separate of it, but you are not. None of us are. It is all what we are, and Om is the sound that expresses it. In Sanskrit, Om, the Sanskrit alphabet, Om is there are 50 letters to the Sanskrit alphabet, but from A being the first, being the last, before you get into the semi-vowels and the sort of special ones, that encompasses everything, which is why Om is everything. All right. So more about Om. Well, the next one says Tad. Here we go. Tad Japas Tad Arta Pavanam. So the repetition to Tad Japas, to repeat this, the repetition of and meditation upon that, upon Om, leads to the realization of its meaning. This says what I was already starting to say in the last one. So this is an Om, again, with little bitty Oms in gold also, and some little bitty Oms inside there in gold. And the idea is this rain of gold, this rain of grace that comes from the repetition of Om. And that it is, as I said before, it's not because it's a magic wand. It is a special sound that invokes the nature of all that is. And in doing so, in meditating, in repeating it and meditating upon it, we invite that energy into ourselves and become more capable of expressing it. And then the last one in this particular series is... Here we go. Yet one more Om. This is also in gold, and you can see there's like a blue block that's kind of slightly transparent around it. And these last ones, as you notice, do have the double square, some of them in gold, because we are trying to define basically what is undefinable, but we are trying to define it. All right. Tasya pratyak chetana digamo Pyantaraya Pavascha. All right, that means that from this practice, the practice of repeating and meditating upon Om, from that practice follows the realization of the true self and the obstruction or the destruction of all obstructions, the destruction of all obstacles. So this is one of my favorites. Again, I'm not able to get rid of the reflection, but this too says exactly what I've been saying all along, which is that Om doesn't destroy all obstacles because it is a magic wand. It destroys all obstacles because Om is our nature. Om is what we are. And most obstacles are created by a sense of separation, by egoism, by smallness, by believing that we are the small version of ourselves and we are separate from others. Om, by connecting us to our true nature, by helping us embody, by inviting that true nature into ourselves, naturally destroys the sense of separation between us and others, and in so doing, destroys the obstacles, because most of them spring from the ignorance of thinking that we are separate, that we are other than God, that we are other than each other, that we are anything other than pure awareness, which is what really, truly everything is. That is, the substratum of existence is everything that arises and falls out of awareness. You could not know anything. You could not know that you are unhappy, or that you are frustrated, or that you don't like this or don't like that, or that you wish your life were different, if you were not aware that you don't like this or you don't like that. And what you do or don't like, these things change, just like your experience changes. All of these are constantly changing, but you are constantly aware of them. So the substratum of existence is Om. That is everything, and that is awareness. That is Brahman. Ishvara is something that you can surrender to try to connect to that sense of pure awareness, if it is difficult for you to just connect to the notion of pure awareness. Om is the sound that invokes that beingness of knowing that what you are is not all of the specific things that you think and feel, but is your awareness. All right, this has been a little bit of a long one. I still hope you enjoy it. and I will talk to you soon. The next ones we go into what those obstacles are that are broken down. And the obstacles are not a problem, they are a sign you are on the path. All right, talk to you soon.